Thank you guys for 200 subs. Without you, I wouldn't have gotten here. I really appreciate that you guys take your time and watch my videos, and I hope you enjoyed them along the way, and I hope you enjoy more in the future too. Now with that said, let's get to the video. Growing up, I read a lot of manga, in hopes that it would expand my vocabulary. But alas, all it made me want to do was just draw the pictures inside, and ultimately draw some bookmarks for the books that I was reading. So I'm going to show you how I do that today. Okay, so first off, I want to say that when I used to make my bookmarks, I would just take the name of whatever manga I was reading, and I would make a bookmark for that manga, and I would use it specifically for it. And that was like forever ago. But what I want to kind of do now is take a different approach. So ultimately, my plan is I'm going to create an OC who's kind of like a bookworm that would suit the world of, reading, and I feel like he would kind of belong in the book as I slide the bookmark in, because I wouldn't want to make a character that has nothing to do with reading and the character doesn't belong in that book. I mean, you could also do something like taking a character from the manga or from the book and drawing your version or that version of the character on the bookmark if you'd want to do that. But what I personally wanted to try was create this OC and then use the bookmarks for the purpose where I feel like, okay, he belongs in this area. Okay, so for this OC's character design, I kind of wanted something that was a little bit more reserved, because when we think of the stereotype, the bookworm is usually the quiet one and doesn't really stand out too much, or doesn't wear really bright clothing, or is just like constantly reading. So I tried to take some of those ideas from the stereotype of the bookworm and then apply it to this character. So what I did was I didn't give the character a big build, because I usually draw very muscular characters. This time I tried to keep him on like the medium-ish side, not so much really muscular or so much really thin or non-muscular. And obviously that doesn't mean big people or small people can't read or whatever. Don't take it into that context. I just wanted to try and create something more towards what that stereotype would kind of fit. I also gave this character glasses, because of course, why wouldn't I? The clothing I kept fairly simple, kind of like just almost like a kind of fashionable thing going on here, but like not too stand outy, so you have like the idea of the bookworm still there. When it comes to their hair, I really wanted something super simple and sleek to try and just give it a more modern approach on the bookworm. So although I'm going off of some stereotypes, I'm also trying to make it into more of my style and maybe modernize it a little bit more, because the stereotype of the bookworm comes from the whole nerd section of like stereotypes, so that usually would fit in there. And nerds aren't what they were 50 years ago, so the idea of that is like completely different now. So this is the finished sketch, and then I'm going to continue on with the liner, of course. For lining, I think I didn't do anything too special. I kept it what I normally do, which is I use the 0.3 liner at first to just kind of get the outline of whatever I need to down, and then afterwards I come back in with a 0.5 liner to thicken up around where I want to, such as like the outline of the character. I do this so this way the character looks like he kind of stands out more and doesn't look so flat, because sometimes if you use only just the one liner, the image doesn't look too lifelike, I'd like to say. Line thickness and variation is very important when it comes to creating characters, because thinner lines usually mean a more softer character, when bolder, thicker lines usually means a harder or edgier character. At least that's what like my brain correlates to when I see that kind of line work. So I tried to keep it in a sweet spot, usually for my art, unless I'm specifically making a character with a certain personality. Otherwise, I'm just trying to outline them so they stand out a little bit more. Okay, now we could talk about the color scheme that I have for this character. I mostly wanted to stay somewhere in the browns area, Mostly because when I feel like I picture someone reading, or like a bookworm or anything of the sort, I picture something like very warm and cozy, because usually it's shown or like stereotyped that people are drinking coffee and like by a fire reading a book and then like having a grand old time and enjoying the company of the story more than anything. So the idea of having them wear brown clothing or like khaki clothing and stuff like that, I feel like suits the character really well. It also is a nice contrast between their really dark, like straight black hair. I didn't even do any like actual shading to the hair and made a gradient of like purple to like a darker purple or something, or like grays. I just straight up made his hair slick black hair with a white highlight. So to create that white highlight, instead of adding the white highlight in, what I did was I left something called negative space, which is where you leave the white of the paper there for a strategical move. Oh my god, I can't speak. For a strategical move, so you could see how not only dark the hair is, but how bright the highlight is. For his eyes, I really wanted to go with a very saturated blue color. It kind of stands out compared to his black hair and his brown outfit. And not only that, but it really does make the character look softer and more soft-spoken, kind of just inviting, which I really wanted to do, and I think that came through really well. And finally, his book is just a regular brown book to help kind of keep the whole outfit neutral. Now that we have our character, we can start making our bookmarks. Okay, so to make the bookmarks, what I first did was took I think it was an 8x11 cardstock paper. The reason why I use cardstock is because it's thicker than printer paper and won't bend as easy. Afterwards, I took a ruler and I kind of made a guideline on all four sides of the piece of paper, leaving a 6x9 square on the inside, and then from there I cut that in half because I wanted to make 2 bookmarks. So altogether it would be a 3x9 bookmark for each of them, which is, I believe, ample size for any book. And from there, I took my paper cutter and then cut them out into 2 even pieces. Okay, now that we have both of our bookmarks cut out, what I want to do is draw a pose or like a little mini scene that I think would fit the character and would kind of look cute within the book. So like when I open it, I'm like, oh, look at how cute this character is. But that's just me, you know, y'all can do whatever y'all want, but I just like looking at the cute character. So I decided on 2 different poses, one where he's looking down at the book and reading it, and one where he's just kind of holding a cup of coffee and looking up towards you when you would pick up the bookmark yourself. In order to help me out with the guideline of doing this, what it is wow. Ooh. What I did was I put the bookmark on top of a sketchbook that I have, and I used it to help me create the entire outline of the pose, because I can't picture it normally like just stuck on that little piece of paper right there. I would need the extra outlines to kind of help it looks like it makes sense. You get what I'm saying? So like right here, he's holding the cup, but obviously you can't fit the arms within the drawing, but I need the arms to see if the pose makes sense. So in the middle is where I would have the majority of the design, and on the outside, like you see here, both arms are there just kind of floating to help me position him correctly, and so it doesn't look weird, like if the cup is too high or too low, if the hands are pointing the right way. I suggest that to anybody if you're going to be doing this kind of thing, unless you know you're skilled enough to just go ahead and go in and draw. That's great for you. I wish I could do that, but I really don't have the mental capacity to sit down and figure that out. So that's how I ended up using that to help me, which really assisted a lot within this whole process. It helped cut it down nearly in half. After I am happy with both designs and I have like the general idea of where I want to go, I just go in with my liner, of course, and then I line out the drawing. This time I didn't go in and make some parts thicker, at least I don't think I did, and I believe I didn't do it because I wanted to keep the character looking a little softer. I know you could use even thinner liner to make it look, again, even like softer, but I think that for me personally, at least 0.3 liner is good enough for me to use. Anything smaller, not only am I like really heavy-handed and I'll break the nibs, but it won't look like right to me. I've seen people use little to no liner at all, and it always looks fantastic, but for some reason it just doesn't jive with my style enough, and it just ends up looking like weird and all this stuff. So I used like at least a 0.3, and then like I said earlier, I use a 0.5 sometimes to outline. Here I just used a regular outline with 0.3. After that, of course, I go in and I color with the colors that I picked earlier. That's why it's good to do like a character design sheet whenever you're doing something like this, because now you have the reference of how the character not only looks like, but how the colors worked on that character, and if you want to change anything about them along the way, because, you know, sometimes in the middle of making a character, we're like, wait, I just don't like this at all, let's change it. So it's always good to have a reference, even if it's your own character and you know what it's going to look like. It's just nice to have that piece of paper as like a, hey, this is what the character looks like, do you like this, do you not? And then from there, you could decide what works with the character or it doesn't work. So that's what I ended up doing, of course. And some things like the cup weren't there in the character design sheet, but I just kind of kept it with a simple color scheme to match the pants, so it doesn't look like I introduced too many new colors in. Now that I have them both colored and they look like super cute, I'm going to do the next part of the bookmark, which is kind of adding a design, and the best and easiest way to do that is to use washi tape. Of course, you can make your own design and put them anywhere you want on the bookmark, but for me personally, I really just want to use washi tape for this, because one, this process was really long, and I wanted to shorten it up as much as I could. Two, I really feel like the element of a washi tape helps bring it together and makes it look like a bookmark in itself. It also kind of gives more depth to the character and just kind of makes them stand out more. Like the washi tape that I used mostly was black and gold, and I thought that kind of matched the area of what they were wearing. Even though there wasn't any gold in the piece, it kind of to me seemed like brown would be the closest match to gold. So I also did that for like aesthetic purposes, and I really do feel like it matched the character really well, along with made the bookmark look much more I feel like just more pleasant to look at. It also is like a really cool element of design that I probably could never come up with because I'm not a very design kind of person, so I thought that was a nice touch. Finally, the last thing that I did, which was the most stressful part, was putting clear tape over the bookmark, so this way it looks like it's laminated. I actually have a laminator, but at the time of filming this, I could not find my lamination paper, and I was very upset because I was like, damn, I feel like I'm 14 again actually, where I had to do like this, putting clear tape over the drawing, so this way it looks laminated and can last a while. There's nothing wrong with doing that, obviously. I still think it's really good, and like when I was doing it, I was like, you know what, this is a really useful method, but the only thing is that it's super stressful and you have to be super careful not to tear the parts off. Also, if you do it too quick like I did, you might end up with some air bubbles, and that made me super upset because I was like, damn, I can't like continuously take the tape on and off because it could rip the drawing, and I do not want that to happen. So overall, the bookmarks came out pretty nice. I feel like the washi tape added an extra layer to it that made it look super cool, and overall I really like how they came out. I might do more in the future, or I might not, we'll see, because this process is a little long. If I find my lamination paper, maybe I'll do it again, but otherwise, yeah. Thanks for watching, and remember I love you. Bye!